What's up, guys? My name is Jose, and welcome to another episode of The Biased Truth, brought to you by Ep.2 Football. And today we're going to talk about an important subject with the recent elimination of the English teams from all the European leagues. I think it's a good time to just reevaluate the state of the league and where it's standing at the moment. And welcome to Biased Truth, where I'm always right and you're wrong. And when I mean I'm always right, I'm always right. Always. Manchester City, Chelsea, and Arsenal whimper out of the Champions League, and Everton getting destroyed by Dinamo Kiev in the Europa League. And you're probably thinking to yourself, what is going on with the EPL teams? They used to dominate. They used to go through quarters, semis. We used to see EPL teams in Champions League finals. I mean, it could be a number of different reasons. People say that EPL doesn't get a break over the winter, so that makes teams more fatigued going into the European competitions. A lot of people could argue about, maybe that the league itself being so competitive and, just people facing off against each other. And, first, we all know how competitive the EPL is. First can beat last. Upsets happen regularly, and it's such an intense, such a hard-fought league. The gap between first and second is by one game normally, and it takes a lot of energy. It spends a lot of energy to win the games. But you could argue that point, or we could argue my point, where I just think the other leagues of the world aren't scared of the EPL no more. I mean, nobody's intimidated by the EPL. Maybe it's just time to say that why the EPL will remain to be the most competitive and the best and hard-fought league in the world. It's just they might fall off a bit. I mean, let's give you guys a little bit of history lesson. Like back in the day, throughout the 2000s, late 2000s, you had Liverpool, it was Rafa Benitez side. You had Mourinho's Chelsea, Sir Alex Ferguson with Manchester United, and Wenger. When he still had a lot of his good players in Arsenal, you had four teams, really, just those four, who could just beat anybody and wipe the floor with anybody, EPL and Champions League. And you would regularly see them in Champions League finals, okay? You had, like I said, Rafa Benitez, you had a younger Steven Gerrard, Carragher, Fernando Torres at one point, Daniel Agger, and you would see them in a Champions League final in 2005, back in 2007, make it through quarters and semis. Great team. Arsene Wenger, when he still had his Cesc Fabregas, the likes of Andre Arshavin, Glauc Clichy, make it to a Champions League final one time. And of course you got Mourinho's Chelsea with the likes of younger Didier Drogba, John Terry, Frank Lampard, who made it many Champions League semis, quarters, and would always come really close to winning the thing and they did. Ironically, without Mourinho, with many argue people the worst Chelsea side ever. And of course, last but not least, Sir Alex Ferguson with his great Manchester United side, when you had the legends of Paul Scholes, Gary Neville, Ryan Giggs, of course, a young Cristiano Ronaldo paired with Berbatov, Tevez, Rooney, who you could argue could have won the Champions League multiple times had they've not crossed against Barcelona, and maybe a little bit of luck. So what I'm trying to say is, what made the EPL so great then is you had four unbelievable teams who you could argue could win the Champions League, and they would make it so far and win the thing, playing in the same league, beating each other constantly around the same time in the same era. And don't get me wrong, there's still four great teams, but they might have fallen off. Ferguson has left, and you could see throughout the last couple of years that Ferguson was coaching the team, on paper they still weren't good, but they still made it really far. They made it to a Champions League final when people argued that on paper they did not have even close to the talent of other Sir Alex Ferguson teams. Chelsea, they won it, like I said, with a mediocre team. Arsenal and Liverpool, they got to rebuild. But the top EPL teams aren't as strong as they used to be now. You can only make the exception now about Chelsea. God knows that I fucking hate them. They're the scum of the earth. I fucking hate you, Chelsea fans. Personally, I'm a Manchester United fan, so I just hate anything that with Abramovich involved. Not so much the team. I love the players. My boy Hazard plays in that team. He's wrecking the EPL. Amazing, but Chelsea, in my eyes, is the only team that you can argue that truly is an intimidating, hard, physical side that can beat anybody. They just had a little bad luck and went up against a PSG side that was super resilient, that never said die attitude, and they just didn't give up. It's the same can't be said about Arsenal. They lost their players. They lost the likes of Cesc Fabregas. They lost guys like Nasri, Adebayor, Alex Song. And, Wenger just doesn't want to buy players. Liverpool lost Suarez, and, they haven't been the same. And you can say the EPL has a lot of other great players. Now, we've seen teams like Tottenham, Southampton, Everton that are resurging, but let's be honest. Back then, those EPL sides would shit on anybody in Europe, and they would destroy them. Now, the rest of the world has catching up. Bayern Munich, they were still a side that were rebuilding their team, that weren't quite as good as they are now. Now they're a powerhouse. Real Madrid and Barca, you could always argue that were good sides, but during that era, it was during a time when Barcelona was, going, it was coming towards the end of the Frank Rijkaard era, where, Ronaldinho, his time was up, Deco, he was ready to pack his bags. It was towards the end of the Frank Rijkaard era, the pre-Guardiola era, and Real Madrid, they still for a while were stuck in the second round, so they didn't do too well in those competitions. France wasn't quite in the spotlight yet, give or take Lyon and maybe occasionally Marseille. Porto's always been there. Serie A was a little bit better. I mean, Inter, AC Milan, but I just feel like maybe it's not so much that the EPL sucks. It's just maybe they've lost a little bit of their touch. But I just feel like the rest of the world, the rest of the leagues are no longer scared, are no longer intimidated by the dynamic, the physical, the high intensity, high paced nature of the EPL sides. They're just not scared of the EPL no more. They can go up against them and they can believe that they can beat them on any given day. Nobody's scared of the EPL sides no more. Nobody's intimidated, and they might have lost a step. Does that mean that the EPL is done? Does that mean that they can no longer dominate in the Champions League or even Europa League competitions? False. I think this is just a problem that's only happened. You can only say that it's only occurred a year or two. To me, it hasn't happened long enough where I can say it's a serious issue that England has to tackle quite yet. Even though Paul Scholes came this week saying that Bayern and Barca and Real Madrid would win the EPL by 3-5 games, 15 points. But I just feel like, but those teams, they're miles away from everybody else. But I don't think the EPL should really panic just yet. If it continues to happen for another 2-3 years, then it's a problem. But I think just 1 or 2 years and not so bad, and it just opens the possibility of other leagues that we don't usually see and more diverse competition. But the EPL, I don't think they're quite done. I think Chelsea's going to be back. Manchester United with Louis van Gaal, they're going to rebuild and they're going to be a strong team again. Liverpool and Arsenal, they're going to come back with a vengeance. And the EPL is not done, folks. I mean, let us know. Again, put your comments below. Share your opinion. And of course, as always, like, subscribe to Depka TV. My name is Jose Morales, and thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And this is The Biased Truth. Take it easy, guys. Good night.